everybody today? Thanks for coming out in what was the rain. My name is Penny Patton. I am here to introduce Kurt's Property Management and Investments to you today. This is Kurt Johnson and Denise Johnson, and they are the owners of this company. A little bit personal about them. Kurt is Colorado native. That's kind of rare these days. I know. They love Fort Collins. They love the outdoors. They like to boat on Horsetooth, fishing, hiking, camping, all of that good stuff. But when they are not outdoors having fun, they run this wonderful company. So Kurt has been around real estate investments, and the construction industry for his whole life. He's got 32 years of experience in the industry, which since he's only 40, I don't know how that happened. After being a broker, he saw the need for higher quality property management services, so he started this company. Denise has got 29 years of experience in the industry, and she has been around construction, worked for builders, worked for survey companies, and she was a mortgage broker for a while as well, so she brings a nice breadth of experience to this with them. Denise and Kurt have worked together since 2011, so that's a while. That's great. My husband and I don't think could do that. That's right. That says a lot for you guys. And they enjoy giving their clients high quality service with a high level of integrity and to help them maximize their real estate investments. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to these two. Please welcome Kurt and Denise.
Good morning. Thank you so much, and thank you to the Chamber and Penny specifically for getting us prepared for this today. It's good to see everybody. We have a couple of offers today. So for Chamber members, if you're interested in property management services and you sign with us, we give you 2 free months of management. And that offer is good, let's just say through the end of this year. That sounds good. If you know anybody that needs management services or real estate services and you refer them, we'll buy you lunch at your favorite restaurant.
Cool.
All right? I'm going to give it over to Kurt for now.
Get you lunch just for trying. What do my notes say here? This is my little security blanket here. I work the real estate side of the business. We have 2 distinct services. We have the real estate brokerage, which is what you might think is traditional, being a realtor in residential, and then the property management side is primarily on Denise's plate. I get out in the field a little bit on that. But that's kind of how we have it divided up since I've been a long-time broker here in town. I'm real familiar with the market, seen it grow a lot, going on 30 years of that. But, I just kind of wanted to talk about our philosophy and our style and how we work with people, why people will generally hire us, I think it was 94, I think I was really licensed if everybody. It was a long time ago. And in 05, I was at Remax, and in 05 we opened this shop. And so it's been a long bunch of change, and I've just been in this market the whole time. I've been a member of the Fort Collins board for that whole time, so I've seen a lot of growth and change in the market, so I'm real familiar with that. Our philosophy really is kind of just based on the golden rule. We try to treat people the way we want to be treated, and so that goes for the transactions we're in, the investor owners that we represent, and the tenants. We got to give good service. It's a service business, right? So we want to keep everybody happy within the guidelines of what we have to do. My style is not a real flashy salesman kind of guy. I don't have bench plus benches or anything. I'm just sort of I'm not a hard selling guy. I just am honest about things. I feel like I'm trustworthy because I kind of value, instead of being a pushy salesman, just to tell people the truth about things. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to say, "Oh man, let me get you $700 grand for your house. It'll be great," and then come back and say, "Oh, I think it might be a little less than that. So how about it now that we're all signed up?" I don't how we do things. So sometimes it can be a little overly candid, run the risk of being more candid than I should. But, you know, it's based on really just being honest with people and not stringing them along. What else do we have here? Oh.
Yep.
There.
Hey, is this me? Okay. Yeah, buyers these days, everybody knows a realtor. Many realtors here. But I wanted to talk about buyers just real briefly, and working with them. It used to be that, oh man, the good service, you're gonna get the best price for your buyer out there. You're gonna get that seller to come down on their price and we can negotiate good. These days, it's more like, can you get it under contract? Everybody knows that the market is crazy, and there's multiple offers on just about everything. Unless it's totally overpriced already. But just getting them under contract is the challenge of it, and I've been really good lately. The last few years since we've had this kind of market, in getting them under contract. It usually takes a couple, 2, 3 times, writing 2 or 3 offers to get them under contract. And it's strange to brag about that kind of thing. Say it only takes a few tries, because in the past it was never like that. But taking just a few tries is something that I'm actually proud of, because I hear these horror stories about people up to it. Working with sellers, of course, you want to maximize the price people get for their places. You know, it's the buy low and sell high. Everybody wants to sell it for as much as they can, but you have to also look at their situation. Everybody's situation is different, and not always are they driven entirely by the greatest price. I've been on both sides of this as a buyer, with a buyer, where my buyer's offer was accepted even though there was a higher offer. And I've been working with sellers where they don't take the very highest offer because the runner-up buyer has better features in that offer. Like they might be working with a real local lender rather than Rocket Mortgage. Sorry. Did I say Rocket Mortgage? A local lender is a better thing to see on a real estate offer. And so, in working with sellers, that's what we're seeing these days. With investors, investors are buyers and sellers. They buy, they sell. They always have tenants. Working with the tenants, tenants have rights, and owners have obligations to those tenants, even through the transaction and beyond. And so they always have tenants. With investors, and very often they're working in the 1031 exchange world, where 1031 tax deferred exchanges are very common. They want to move their equity from the old rental into the new rental and defer the capital gains tax. So always a clever thing to do there. And there are clever things to do with the 1031 that I'm pretty familiar with that are helpful. It's not always just a kind of right thing. There are some creative things you can do with 1031s. Gosh, I think I didn't have to rely on these much at all. And last thing I might mention with sellers is, you know, in my experience, I've tried all kinds of things to get homes sold. And, you know, if you look at the Realtor magazine, they've got all kinds of gimmicks and, oh, buy the hand-waving guy like the car dealer has, and all kinds of funny things. But I really know what it takes to get it sold. And I try to stick to what really works. And I try to be honest with people about that too, because sometimes people have ideas like, oh, you gotta dress up like a chicken, isn't that what everybody does? I don't dress up like a chicken. So anyway, with that, I think I'm gonna hand it over to Denise to talk more about that property management side of things, because that's fun stuff too. So.
We'll try to keep it exciting. So, I wanted to start off by talking about the fact that we're a smaller company. We are local here to Fort Collins, and we want to keep things, you know, from getting too big, because we really want to deliver that personalized service to our clients. That's something they really, really enjoy about working with us. So oftentimes when I meet people, I go, oh yeah, you know, what company are you with? I say, Kurtz Property Management Investments. Yeah, I haven't ever heard of you. That's because we don't advertise directly to the public. Where we get our business from is we get a lot from the real estate community, other business owners, current clients, past clients, and then friends and family. So we really enjoy relationships we have with people, and it's good to see some familiar faces today here in the audience. So, yeah, like Kurt said, we won't be on the bus ads. I mean, they're great, I've thought about it, but, you know, we just really do well working with people we know and getting those warm leads. All right, so I'm gonna run through some property management services that we offer and some things that we think hopefully set us apart. And so we are a full service management company. That means we pretty much do everything from beginning to end. You know, we find the tenants, we advertise, we do the rent collection, emergency services, all of that stuff. And then we charge a flat rate monthly management fee. So it does not adjust with the rent rate. So rents are increasing, which is great, but our fee does not increase along with that rent. So depending on the property type, we're anywhere from $150 to $175 a month. And we only manage residential properties. We do not manage commercial properties, and we do not manage HOAs. Okay. We do not mark up our vendor charges. So whatever the invoice is that we receive from the vendor for work done, we pass that directly to the client. We do not mark that up to earn extra money. We have no startup fees. Again, we offer the personalized service, so when I have a client call, they know that they're gonna get me or Kurt. I know who they are, I know what their property is, I know who their tenants are, I know their personality, and what they need, and they really appreciate that. We have 24/7 reports available for our owners. We can pay them via EFT into their bank account, really convenient, we have good tech. We are always up to date on the forms and disclosures based on the current regs and rules. Became very important during COVID. The state was very busy changing things almost on a daily basis. And it's really important to us to make sure we have that correct. Even if our lease says something, the state changed it, we have to immediately make that change. And we wanna not be liable for those and not have our client be liable for those things that could be out of date. We serve Fort Collins, Loveland, Windsor, Wellington, Timnath, and Berthoud. We just broke into Wellington, we're real excited about that. And this is just property management. Kurt would probably buy and sell outside of these areas, but for the property management part, we want to keep it local. We want to spend all of our time driving all over the state. If we have somebody that comes to us, they need services, maybe in Greeley or Longmont or something, we'll work really hard to try to get them a referral for that. And then I wanted to say that professional management does not cost, it pays. Oftentimes we get people that reach out to us, they don't know what to do, their tenant's leaving, they need help, and what we're finding is they're way under rented, and the property really wasn't taken care of like they thought it was. And so we can come in and get that rent to the appropriate market rent. It more than covers our fees, and we make sure their property's taken care of. So, all right, and next, really, we care about people. We love working with people. Kurt mentioned that we not only like to have a good relationship with our client, but also with the tenant. It's important. We work for the owner, but having a good relationship with the tenants is really important. Cooperation is important, especially if things get tough. And you know, we love minimizing vacancy for our clients. So to have a cooperative tenant that's moving out and allow showings, we can pre-lease for a client is very important. So we have a lot of success stories about people we've helped. You know, one of my favorites is a person that needed a place to buy. She was just getting priced out, and I thought she was a perfect candidate for Habitat for Humanity. And she got it. She got the house, and she's now their ambassador. She is gonna be their poster child for the program because she was such a success with them. So really, really happy to have helped her with that. And that's all we have. This is just our contact information. We just launched our new website last week. So there's a lot of good things there. You get our newsletter and some free market analysis and things like that. But I think that's all we have, so we would open up to Q&A.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Kurt and Denise. What questions do we have? Robbie?
How did the COVID not paying your rent work out for you over that time frame? Did you have any bad stories?
Great question. Great question. So we did not have any of those nightmares. I really attribute that to our tenant selection process. With my mortgage background, I'm used to buying people for 30-year mortgages, let alone just a year lease. We had one household that one of the tenants was in the food and beverage industry, so she did struggle a little bit, and did pay rent late, but always within the same month it was due, and was very communicative about it. And again, the good relationship with tenants becomes important for something like that. But everybody else was very well qualified. We didn't have any issues, and
I think our investors were really considerate, and they called us, many of the investors who own the properties we manage for, were calling us and saying, hey, if our tenants are struggling, let's be gentle with them, let's not just push them to the curb, because everybody was feeling the pain. So the investors were being really considerate
Yeah,
on that.
that was
And-
nice to hear. You know?
Yeah,
I
there
mean,
were a handful of
yeah.
tenants, mostly like the food and beverage, they couldn't work, they weren't serving beer anymore, and so.
And one of the things I was able to do is not only, urge them to apply for an employment, but also look at the community resources available. I also worked for Larimer County Human Services for 4 years, so I'm familiar with the programs that they have. And then, of course, Neighbor to Neighbor has been a wonderful resource for people that need help, and they continue to be today. But we just didn't have those crazy nightmares you hear about. Most of the ones we heard about were from people that didn't have professional management on it. So, I think for tenants, it's easier for them to maybe push the envelope with just a private owner than it's gonna be with an actual management company.
You don't have that professional distance, when you're the owner, they can play on your heartstrings. And it's not like every tenant is manipulative, but it's harder when they can play on your heartstrings and go, oh, I just lost the job and my dog died. There's always a country song in that. And, if they're pulling your heartstrings and stringing you along, you don't have that professional distance. We get to say, yeah, sorry, just doing my job. It's not me, it's my job. And when you manage them yourself, you can't say that. It's a better relationship. Lori.
I actually have a testimonial. So when we first moved here to Colorado, and we were looking for a house to rent before we wanted to buy, the first people that we met in town were Kurt and Denise, and we actually rented one of their properties. And there were little bumps that we had during that time, but they were so professional and so amazing in how they worked with both sides, working everything out. And then later, Kurt sold us our house a year and a half later. So we got to work both ends of that, and they were just wonderful to work with.
Thanks, Lori.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lori.
Who's your longest tenured tenant?
Oh, who's been there the longest? Tenants?
Off the top of my head, I would say we've got one probably going on 5 years. Same tenant, we've had a handful of those.
5, 7, 8 years. I would say.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
Not, like you said, per year turnover.
Yeah, the
Right.
student
Yeah,
rentals turnover more.
Yeah, we prefer to keep tenants. They'll have the first shot at being able to renew. This year's gonna be a little tougher because rents are really going up this year. I think there was kind of a freeze during COVID. They started creeping up again last year, and now owners are kind of like, hey, I want something here. There's inflation going on and other things that they've suffered a lot. So we'll see how many we can keep on renewal. We try to meet halfway on that, yes.
So I'm curious, I know it's probably different for attached property than like a single family property, but what is that rent increase as a percentage, if you were to kind of guesstimate?
So it's gonna be different, well, to compare those two different properties and what's happening, I don't think there's really any difference in a rent increase in a condo versus a single family, just market
As a percent.
rent wise. But when we're looking at what we're going to do with rent, like this year, I'm making sure I get every owner involved with it, because sometimes I'm surprised, like if we've got tenants that have been there for a while, and we've kind of just crept their rent up a little bit, and now we're saying, maybe, if we were putting it on the market, it could go up $200 a month versus what they're paying. I'm reaching out to that owner and saying, this is what I'm saying, this is what we got, do you wanna meet halfway? Cause we're valuing the great tenant, right? A lot of them say yes, but I just had one the other day say she's not gonna raise the rent at all. And I would've felt horrible getting putting a big increase on a tenant and then hearing the owner say that after the fact. So I'm really glad I checked with the owner, because it wasn't really my advice to her. even $25 a month, I could've gotten her no problem, but she didn't wanna do it, so, right. So no real, difference on the increase, between these property types, yes.
It's under 10% increases across the board, just under 10. Some are going up 10 plus.
Yeah, I would say it's under 10%, yeah. But, good question?
In 2006, there was a big thing with a lot of people coming to see it, see that the parents would buy a house while that was going on and while they were gonna turn around and sell it. Is that still what you're seeing in terms of the market and how it works?
Yeah, the kitty condo stuff, or buying a rental for the couple kids going through school, we still see that, people still do that. It's kind of like the rest of the market where the return on the investment, being that the prices are so high now, is a little more challenging for people. It used to be a more profitable endeavor on the cash flow part, but now they're buying mostly for the appreciation in this market. So, and when we have the parent buyers for the kids, usually comes with a large down payment, and so they can kind of minimize their rent expense. It's the rental money, the mortgage. And so larger down payments for kitty condos are pretty common now. There's a neat
Testimonial, I've known these guys for 25 longer years, I don't know.
I know, it's a long time, Anita.
Since before you guys were married. I just love seeing, but they do an awesome job and high ethics, and I would highly recommend them. So what's your take on the licensing laws?
For managing properties, for real estate management?
Yeah.
The licensing for, that there's proposed.
Well, it's in Denver, right? The one that just passed in Denver, like that?
Right, and how do you see that affecting the market?
Well, I think that ultimately what happens is that gets passed down and it'll probably raise rent rates, honestly. I mean, cause it's just basically, from what I understand, what's happening in Denver, it's just a tax, right? They're gonna charge, to have somebody be licensed to manage a property, and they're gonna require inspections, and those may or may not cost money, and then it's gonna cause, maybe the owners to have to do some things to improve those properties for those tenants. And so again, if the owner is suffering financially, where are they gonna get the rest of the money? It's gonna probably drive rents up, so it's, in my mind, when those kind of things happen, I wish that lawmakers would think more long-term about that stuff, because I don't think it's really helping the tenant as much as they would like to think. But there are those stories, right? We've heard them where people are living in properties that are disgusting. We don't do that, and we don't work for owners that wanna run their properties that way. We don't have to work with everybody, we will walk away from that. So, I don't know if that helps you, but I don't want it to come here, because I don't think it's helpful.
So I'm gonna shameless plug, those conversations are taking place in Fort Collins.
Yeah,
Good.
I know.
And if you want, you can subscribe to the Fort Collins Area Chamber of Commerce Advocacy newsletter. And, we are having conversations like this all the time. So Anita, yes, questions on that, especially in this industry, I can tell you those conversations are taking place in Fort Collins.
Yeah,
It'll help us get hired, but I still don't agree
people
with
will
it.
hire us, but I would rather not pass temperature.
So it's probably, Lindy, it's probably a loaded question, but what's your feel on the U+2?
I was thinking if I picked something to get rid of in this area, it would be
So,
that.
so we can count on your support?
Another shameless
So,
chamber
yes.
plug is if you attend our next civic conversation, that is the topic we're discussing.
You're welcome.
So, Lindy knows.
Yes, I don't even wanna go into it, cause I just totally
We
disagree
have
with it.
struggled with that since its inception.
One of our issues is it's unenforceable, right? It's very difficult for us to enforce that, whereas the city goes around and drives around at midnight and looks at people's license plates, and they have apparently unlimited resources to deal with this, problem, and we still have really struggled with how we as a company are supposed to enforce that. We don't wanna really ask people who they're sleeping with. We don't wanna ask people, I mean, seriously, it gets sticky. What's the definition of a family? All that stuff is something that
You gotta be bold around here.
How are property management companies regulated in Colorado?
You have to be a realtor to,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to be a broker, you have to be licensed through DORA as a realtor,
Yeah.
DORA gives a real estate license to property managers because we wear that hat that is agency. And so we are the agent of the owner. And so just like you hire the agent to sell your house, we are the agent to lease the house. And so it's regulated through DORA and the.
Because you hear a lot of sad stories about property management in HOAs.
Yes, yes. HOAs, we intentionally don't work with HOAs because they prefer to have happy customers. They are prone to just people complaining and stuff, and so I don't need it in my heart.
tough.
But HOAs are often run by property managers because they're the people who are coordinating the accounting and they're the people who are coordinating the contractor to do mowing and take care of the pool and whatever they're taking care of. And so they get subcontracted to the HOA very often.
But isn't that what metro tax districts are starting to try to get rid of, right? Try to alleviate those problems that are happening with HOAs, and so time will tell if that
Yeah,
works or not. She had a question back here, sorry.
So you said that, one of the issues is that people that self-manage, their properties get disarrayed and whatnot. Do you guys have a scheduled property inspection so that you can keep an eye on what's going on?
Yep, so we're in that property at least twice a year, either Kurt or I, and then also our vendors, go in. So one of the things that we have is our, we have a main handyman that's great. He's not an employee, but he's just our main vendor, and, cause he can do so much. So he goes in and changes furnace filters once a quarter.
Right.
And he is great at reporting what's going on there.
Yeah.
And
Like, whose
so-
dog is that?
Yeah, I noticed a dog bowl, or are they allowed to have a pet, or hey, they're not really taking care of the, the property's looking a little messy there, things like that. So that's our best way, and then if we have a concern, then we just tell the tenant we need to come in. We try to, respect people's privacy, but.
So you have spies then?
We can take one more question.
No, I just got a question. So it's refreshing, Kurt, to hear you talk about being honest and candid up front with buyers and sellers as you do on the real estate side. So congratulations on that. That's most appreciated. But my question is, and it's something that I took away from your presentation, and I'm sure it's a burning question on everybody's minds. Do people really dress up like chickens?
Yeah, that's probably more of a car dealer thing to do. Yeah, it's surprising to me some of the funny things that people will do in this business that are, clearly not productive.
Gimmicky, right?
We've got a couple of giveaways for you here.
Real quick, we have one more over here. Did you have a question?
It's just quick, and I'm not sure if you'll know this, HOA. And I know you don't do HOA, but can HOA govern if you do a VRBO?
Would be in the CCNRs, I believe. Wouldn't that be the CCNRs?
It would be in the.
In the bylaw?
Yeah, that's where you have.
Somebody else has a question right away. All right. All right,
Giveaway
giveaway
time.
time. So we have some interesting things to give away, and they're kind of related to our business, right? Everybody should have one of these.
All tenants need a carbon monoxide.
Legally required.
Yes, ma'am, okay.
Beware.
Draw that card.
So if you don't need one, get it to somebody that does.
That's right.
This
And they expire
is
after 10
Summer
years, they expire.
Frazier. Hey, I'm just trying to get
Okay, next we have the lockbox.
Very convenient,
Convenient. I have one in my house when I lock myself out. You have a rental, give them one. That way they don't call you in the middle of the night. They have a lockbox.
Karthik. Did I say your name right? Karthik. I'm trying too hard.
Okay. And if you don't have Denise and Kurt taking care of you, and you have fire to put out,
There you go. Fire extinguisher. John Cluster Crew.
All right. Every time.
perfect. Are we ready to go outside and cut a ribbon?
All right, we will head outside, but first things first, let's say thank you.